are here. We're live and at KMG Studios. Shout out KMG.
Yeah,
thanks for having us.
Beautiful space.
Dude, it's a huge honor having both of you. I've been wanting to do this for a hot minute.
Thanks, man.
And yeah, last time I saw you guys perform, damn, it was a while ago. Was it the Vogue in Indianapolis?
Yep.
Sick.
That was like 2017, maybe?
Was that on tour with Humphreys?
Yes, you were playing with Humphreys.
Yeah.
You opened and then you did the after party, which was way across town with tons of traffic, and you guys had to
was the after party at Mousetrap or was it at
Vogue?
At Vogue.
It was
the
Vogue.
after party was at Vogue. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because Doom Flamingo played with us.
Yeah. It was dope.
Damn.
You guys crushed it. It was actually really cool because it was kind of like a private show for me, because the time that they booked it was so close. Humphreys, I don't even think was like finished playing yet.
Yeah.
And so I left early the show to see you guys, and I got there and like with traffic and everything, like you had to start, but not everybody was able to get there from the show across town.
That's awesome.
So I was like front row, just me and like 10 people. Just like, fuck yeah, dude.
That's awesome, dude.
It was great.
Yeah, Indy's always been like a super rowdy town. I feel like you're encouraged to play as much as you can there, you know?
Yeah.
But we really remember that one well too, it seems like. And, you know, that's the way of the road. Like, those tours in 2017, 2018, everything leading up to 2020 was incredible. And we got to really play all over the country on a really consistent basis. And it's awesome to be starting to do that again. You know what I mean? The doors are opening back up, you know?
Cool. Yeah. I mean, the Midwest, they love their jam bands, like the funky, jammy kind of stuff. It's like right up your alley.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, definitely. I'm from Ohio, but I lived in Indy for like 7 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love your stuff. It's been an honor to have you on the podcast for sure. Yeah. Cheers to the tequila and everything. And the yerba mate.
We got fresh squeezed pineapple juice.
You can reach that far.
Yes.
There we go. Nice. One of the albums I think that made me really fall in love with you guys was Deluxe back in the day. I think that was also like a 2017 album or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Deluxe was the first project that we were working on in the studio together with Josh.
Was that before Odyssey?
Yeah, Josh was, no, that was the second one. You're right. We like finished out the drums with Odyssey. Yeah, and then Deluxe, I feel like, though, we did so much of the production at that studio, and that's where we started hanging out the most.
Yeah, for sure.
But we've been making music for a long time. It's awesome, man. We just came from the studio down the street, and we're writing like a new album worth of new songs right now. And yeah,
you've done a lot of collabs with artists I love too. I know Late Night Radio was on that album, I think, for Deluxe, and he's going to be on the podcast next week.
Totally. That song that he played with us, Cinnamon, is the only song that he's collabed on where he didn't do any of the production, and he like talks about it all the time. Like
he played keyboard.
He played the keyboard lead. You know what I mean? And it was actually like at the time we were kind of in between setups, and like we had this rehearsal studio, like this warehouse spot, and he was just messing around over a beat I was working on one day, and like there it is, you know, like. You're going to be featured on the album now, bro. Like you basically like made this song, you know what I mean?
Yeah. He's just collecting those royalties, laying down a keyboard.
I mean, it made the song, you know what I mean?
Yeah, at least $6.
At least $7. So, you know, I'll let you tell him about it next week, but yeah.
$6 will buy you like 2 of these cans.
We're playing with him again in another week in Glenwood Springs, and we've been jamming a lot. He's working on a lot of new music, and we just had Opio in the studio earlier this week, which was incredible. We started talking about doing that when we were on a tour with Sound Tribe in 2018, and like when we did Red Rocks together in 2018, and you know, he had been in between going back and forth from Australia and here, and then everything happened. So it's like the timing of it finally working out the other day was great, and looking forward to definitely bringing up some more collabs very soon. We're getting a lot of studio time in lately, so it's awesome.
Love that.
Yeah.
Do you mostly record at your own home studio? Do you guys have like a setup, I assume?
I mean, I had a studio for Scanhope for like 12 years, so it was like a commercial room with SSL, all that. Cool. And we did a lot of stuff there, like Instinct, and then, you know, Deluxe was there, and the drums and a lot of stuff for Odyssey was done there. But then I also have like a home studio that's like way too nice for a home studio, but we do a majority of the work there, and then occasionally we'll rent like a big studio and go in and do like almost like improv sessions.
Okay.
Where we're just like vibing and like writing songs, but not so much pressure to like finish arrangements or finish ideas. It's more just experimenting and jamming.
Yeah.
To get like really high quality samples. Of course, some of the samples are 7 minutes long or 10, whatever.
You go back and rearrange it. Like a lot of Instinct was written that way, where we went in over like 3 separate days and, really dove in, like played with the lights and stuff, like did the whole jams in the dark and everything like that. And Dexter ran away at one point, Josh's dog. We had to go chase after him. So like we all came back and like, okay, this one's about Dexter coming back and whatever he just did. Like think about whatever his adventure just was. So we made like a 9-minute jam and then resampled parts of it. Yeah. And that's called Dexter's Day Out. So those kind of sessions are like, we were actually just talking earlier today about like getting back into a big room and recording ideas like that, and then kind of deconstructing those into Ableton and sequencing stuff. And that's just a really exciting approach to things that we kind of discovered on that album. And but we write music all kinds of different ways, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I think that's the beauty of like being a hybrid between like an electronic sound design focused project and also like coming from your roots of being instrumentalists and playing like as real musicians, playing guitar and bass and all that stuff. I think it kind of gives you an advantage as far as writing goes, because you can get ideas down really fast rather than just like getting a little mouse out in a computer and just like scrolling and clicking constantly.
Yeah, it's funny because we do a lot of mousing and scrolling as well, but it is cool to be able to get big chunks down like that, or like big ideas down where it's like, hey, here's the idea. And then you got drums, bass, guitar. It's like, or he plays a lot of keys as well. So it's like you could have all the chords, bass, and drums.
Some of those jams, like we would just play, like plug in the organ and I'd just play organ for one or just play clav and we're playing all together. But like, it's once you get that skeleton, that basic form of it, and then you layer up on it, it's a lot of possibilities doing it that way. But we also like what we've been working on today, and we're going to go back and work on, is like structured ideas that we both are kind of bringing to the table. Like he's writing beats, I'm writing beats, and then we're translating all that and like blending that together and setting a new foundation, recording instruments into that.
Cool. So that's dope.
With Ableton, there's all kinds of ways to approach it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and it's about like it's an exercise in not being attached. Because you're like,
no, real. I feel that.
Like, hey, that's cool. Let's switch the whole thing again.
It's like this is a great idea. Let's delete it and start over.
I think the better that you get at it, the more fun that you have, and the more creative like freedom that you have. You can really be holding yourself back, being attached to one idea sometimes.
Yeah.
Well,
no,
like,
I agree.
We just had Opio in the studio and we were working, and he was kind of like driving the session, and it was really cool. He used to be a Logic guy, but now he's on Ableton.
Right.
Of course, he says he's been on Ableton for a while, but the last time I talked to him, which was like when we played Red Rocks, is like he was on
that
Logic.
was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So he's an Ableton guy now.
Nice. You found the light.
Yeah, and he had this session open, and it was like awesome because he's like, let's do this, and like Kevin's playing Rhodes, and he's like, oh, that's good, and then he's like, and then we'll go to some ethereal thing. We're like, what's gonna go to some ethereal? Like we haven't even done. Like, what are you talking about? And Kevin, so like
he's like hearing stuff in his head and calling it out, and we're like this.
Yeah, so I'm playing bass, I'm playing synth. Kevin's like, oh, this guitar part.
Taking it in real time.
Yeah.
So he's collecting all these ideas, and we're like live jamming through what he's like coaching us through to do, like producing us through, and
that's cool.
It was really cool and really similar again to how we write songs, like improving that and then cutting it up later, arranging it. So,
and he's taking all the samples and like putting them in Ableton to like organizing so he understands what he's doing. And
you're kind of arranging as you go. And
so it's like instead of getting on Splice or getting in Ableton and looking up the packs, he's just like, can you do something like this? And we're like, yes.
Yeah.
Let's go.
It's nice to have that like third party person that's like just organizing the ideas while you're throwing down.
It was so fun. Yeah. Because normally you have to do all of it.
Right.
But it was like having someone that talented. It was
and
really cool.
In real time, like with Ableton, as opposed to like with Pro Tools, you can like kind of get in loops and do stuff like that too. But like Ableton just lends itself so well to exactly that, to like that creative, like everybody's pitching in on it simultaneously kind of vibe. And it was a really good session the other day. It was awesome.
That's great.
Shout out Opio.
Shout out Opio. Yeah. Should have him on the podcast sometime.
Oh, he'd love that.
I reached out. If you're listening, he's like, I'm super down. And then we never heard back. So we should follow up on that.
He's a busy boy. You gotta
I'm sure he is.
You might follow up twice on that one. He's pretty sick.
He's probably playing tennis.
Show up on his doorstep.
Yeah, he's pretty sick. You might need to call him a couple times.
Yeah, we could do that. I'll send a carrier pigeon or something. I'll stalk him.
Send him some flowers, and then
maybe
a little notes like, "How about that podcast?"
Yeah, I'll spray my cologne on it. Love Dan. Yeah, I love that process. I'd actually like to nerd out a little more about like your writing style too. So like, when you are coming up with ideas, do you do a lot of comping? Are you in Live 11 or are you in Live 10?
I'm still on 10 right now. I'm wanting to like switch my machine and get to 11. Josh went to 11 like what, a month or two ago?
Congratulations.
Well, I've had 11. I've had 11 for a while, but I've been using 10 so that we can go seamlessly back and forth.
Okay.
But I've been on 11 for a good year, really, as far as like other projects.
Yeah.
And I love the take lanes because like,
yes.
What we do, like what we do is we'll do a take and we're like, all right, let's do another one. And we'll switch to the, like clip view or whatever. Yeah. And we would use the clip view as like take lanes.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
A lot of people do that.
Right.
Well, I remember when we were first starting to make music and you were like a huge Pro Tools guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, why doesn't it just do this? Like, why wouldn't they just make it like this? And so they, you know, the feedback I think with them has been really cool. I think Ableton is always working on like that next thing. So, but again, I just, in my experience from like going from 8 to 9 and then 9 to 10, like, just getting to a fresh start with the machine is usually a good idea. When you're getting like the newest version, at least in my experience, and it depends on where you're at with your machine too. This one is like, you know, kind of running to its last part of its life. You know what I mean? It's retiring soon. And
yeah.
You don't necessarily want to load a new license, new software on that. So I mean, if you're listening out there, I would recommend like definitely starting with a clean thing. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at. But it works still well for the file transfer part of it. Like you can go back from 11 to 10, like not really that crazy. And we try not to go too hard into it. But
yeah,
we make stems if we need to or whatever we gotta do.
Right. Yeah. It is cool that like you can literally drag audio or MIDI clips straight onto your desktop. And then you could just pull that into another thing rather than having to constantly export.
Absolutely.
So many little hacks like that make workflows easier.
Yeah, and like just like little features like that, like, you know, you copy in the clipboard and just like paste it right. Like it's just so convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, who was it? I saw that they were talking about doing voice memos on your phone. You can directly import straight from your voice memo into Ableton.
Oh, dude.
To Live.
Oh, man. So do you remember when we were in Nashville and we had that day off and those guys who like worked with Skrillex's label, I'm forgetting their artist names, but they were like, worked a lot with the Noisia Cats and stuff like that. And they would talk about how they would just go around and like to get weird little audio samples of people. They'd go out on the streets and just find weird humans saying weird stuff and just like pop it from the phone. And it's like, that's the audio quality. Yeah. Pop it straight into Ableton and like chop it up and like EQ it out and it sounds like crazy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's the versatility, the universal part of it where you can just get audio, throw it in there and start manipulating it is really amazing. You know what I mean? Some people take that to a very, very high level. It's crazy. Yeah,
like the new iPhones, the mics, with just like a minimal treatment, like in processing, you can get pretty good sounds out of an iPhone mic. I think it was Dactyl. Dactyl was on the podcast. He said he used a stereo pair of iPhones for overheads for drums. Yeah. And he recorded it. The
compression was sick.
He said it actually sounded really good.
I'm sure like the compression algorithm they have on there is really nice. So I bet on drums it just like sounds sick. I remember the Flowbots. I used to tour, like I was in another band and we would tour with them a lot, and they were talking about how they had this like demo and the drums were like the iPhone. They go to the big studio, record the drums. They're like, I don't know. Like something about that iPhone, like that compression, like pretty cool.
The iPhone condenser mic.
It's weird. It's weird, but it's like, you know, it's all context. It's like if it works, it works.
That's true too.
It's really not, you know, I come from like a technical recording background and like studied recording and have been making records for a long time. So I'm like, you know, really enjoy fancy mics and big consoles and all that stuff. But then I'm like the first guy to hear something and be like, I don't care how you got that sound. I like that sound.
Yeah. It's weird how that works. Cause like you can spend all day trying to buy fancy plugins and like buy new mics and everything when at the end of the day, it probably isn't going to help you make more music most likely. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Like I said, I think it's like context, you know what I mean? It's really, if you really need like a sparkly, clear drum sound, then you need some fancy mics.
Yeah.
But if you know what I mean? It's like the context kind of dictates what you need.
Yeah.
And I just really like to see people like take advantage of whatever they have to get the cool sounds that they can get.
Totally.
Just like how hip hop started, where people are like, yo, hip hop, like the rap sounded how it sounded because they're like, well, we got these records and I got this sampler thing. So this is what it's going to sound like. You know what I mean? That was the tools they had, and they made the dopest music that they could with those tools.
100%.
Remember when we went to Hawaii and we brought the condenser mics and the little XY stand and then like put the interface in the backpack with the laptop running with the session, and then just like walked around this back patio of our friend's house we were staying at and recorded like rain and frog sounds?
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So there's like a middle ground where like that was kind of like, you know, as long as the battery power works and it's a USB interface and it's like phantom powering these condenser mics sticking out of my backpack. But like then we use that sample in a song. You know what I mean? So
yeah, the intro for Water Level is like actual samples that we got when we were like traveling. It was cool.
Oh, sick. What song was that?
It's Water Level. It's on the new album. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. On your new album for sure. A Rise, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You can pull that up, Jamie.
It's a great, we could pull it up.
I'll show you what I mean. And that's what it is like, this was like pretty high quality, pretty hi-fi condenser mic sound, but we were just doing it off of the battery of my laptop.
I love that.
In the setting where we were, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a middle ground if you're willing to improvise and like find solutions. And I think, you know, it's crazy that Ableton allows you to do that, where we're just like recording live audio in a jungle.
Yeah, totally.
You know, like it's also usable for so many purposes, but
I think there's something to be said about using like actual real world samples in your music. I've talked about this with several people on the podcast, but like it's like that human realism that when you, I mean, lo-fi music, I feel like that's 90% of lo-fi. Somebody
it's in like the first like 60 seconds of the song if you want to check it out.
Yeah, dude, we can pull that up.
We can show as an example.
Let's do it. It's called Water.
Water Level. That's actual rain. You're going to hear music, Koki frogs. So like all night long on Big Island, Hawaii, these things are just blowing off. We're like, we might as well record them. But they're going to be in anything we record, so. But it just creates this ambiance like you're there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that.
It like comes in and out throughout the song, but it's a nice like vibe set, you know, for the tune. Yeah,
I love that.
There's a lot of ways to record and get the sounds that you want to get. I think there's a middle ground for everything. So, you know, I think it's just important to always experiment, right? And it all is how it sounds in the end is the result, you know?
Yeah, that's true. It's like, you know, I was talking to Rob, Homemade Spaceship, recently on the podcast a little bit about this, about like the end result and how sometimes we get too concerned about the end result as we're producing before the end result's actually there. And then like that can cause you to overthink the process of what you're doing.
Totally.
And that's like a downward spiral. And then you probably won't even finish it, you know, at that point. So
that's a really good way to think about it. I mean,
no way. That's never happened. Though.
Never. Yeah. Nobody has ever done
like
that.
Today. I think that's a really good way to look at it. You just kind of have to let things happen as they're happening sometimes.
Yeah.
And
that flow state.
Yeah. The result is going to happen how it's going to happen, you know?
Yeah.
But again, I think there's a middle ground there as well, as far as that thinking goes, is like, I think it's important to have a goal, a concise goal of a sound that you're trying to achieve, or like a direction a song is trying to go, but at the same time, be willing to let that happen and change and evolve and be what it needs to be as well.
Yeah, definitely. So like, who would you say some of your influences are for like music, as far as like staying inspired? Like who did you guys grow up listening to that maybe like fueled your passion on your instrument or producing? Or
it's a long list. I mean, I think what was I'll kind of go backwards, I guess, but like the thing that really tipped me into like, I want to make like electronic type music was like listening to like Daft Punk and Chemical Brothers and like the Crystal Method and the Prodigy.
Yeah, that was
like on the bus to high school, like, you know,
classic.
Yeah.
I think that was like the tipping point. But prior to that, like, and still like just very, listened to a lot of rock and then like fusion and progressive rock records were my dad's thing. So I was really into that, like Chick Corea and King Crimson and Yes and all the progressive rock bands and stuff like that. But when I found those bands I was just talking about, it's like that totally changes the way you think about things, you know?
Yeah. I remember I heard Defunk like that. I was like, okay, this is now my favorite thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like big into, you know, Herbie Hancock, Red Hot Chili Peppers, like basically like jazz, funk, rock, funk, like anything that's kind of funky, but
yeah,
you know, I didn't really know. And then I heard that song, I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, what is
Just
this?
all these sounds you've like never really heard together, put together at the same time. You know what I mean?
It's like, that was like a big light bulb moment for me. I was hearing that song. I was like, oh my God. And then like Firestarter, like Prodigy, I was like, whoa. I was like, so I like didn't necessarily understand even what was happening.
Yeah. So when we were first starting to put out music under this project, it was like we did like a Daft Punk remix and we did like a Prodigy remix, and you know, we were like looking at our idols and stuff. And I think for me with the guitar specifically was like I was 16 and my friend like, you know, we smoked a joint and he's like, check this shit out, and puts on Rat-a-tat in the car, right? Never heard this before. And I'm just like, this is crazy. Like, he's like backwards guitars harmonized and like, it's all over like hip hop electronic sounding beats. And like, I think that really was like the tipping point into like the sound that we make now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they are great at that hybrid, like incorporating.
They were innovators,
the live
I think. Yeah.
instruments, but then also affecting them. They're like, what is that?
It's like funky
that's
guitar, bass stuff with really compressed beats, you know, that were from drum machines and like using backwards sweepy sounds. And like, I think that, as if I was going to pick one as far as the style for the band, that was like, this is so tight. Then I was like, how do I learn how to make this kind of music was kind of a pursuit from there. And then I did some hip hop stuff after that. And that I think really pushed it over the edge of like, okay, I want to like produce beats, you know what I mean? Like arrange all of this in a context, but do it with a band. Yeah. You know, so I would say they were, and I never got to see them live. That's my dream concert is if I could go and see Rat-a-tat in like 2009. Yeah.
Yeah. If there was somebody you guys could collab with now that maybe has passed away, who would that be? That's a tough one.
Yeah. I mean, my first thought in my head was Bob Marley.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, yeah.
What a vibe that guy. What a fucking vibe that guy was.
Right? For real.
I don't know if that's the right answer for our band, but that was my first thought.
I think I've been asked that question before, and like, I've never actually given that a lot of thought, and that is awesome. Yeah. Like, if we were going to get in the studio with somebody, like, that would be the best day ever.
Yeah. I feel like I would get way too high, and we'd probably make something that we wouldn't finish, but we would have great deep conversations about life.
We are experts at still going, no matter how high anybody's getting.
That's important.
So I'm not worried about that.
Really, we were talking about those improv sessions earlier, and I mean, like, really. Yeah. I think
it's a real skill.
It's like, you have to like keep it in balance. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I think it's a purposeful thing when you're smoking in the studio, when you're getting high in the studio, it's like, we're doing this to like unlock a level and like, you know, telecommunicate and like get on the same page. Yeah. So, but that's, you know, neither here nor there.
I've been on a few levels where I wasn't sure I'd go back to level 1 ever again.
And that's okay. Yeah. That's just called a password. You just get to start on level 2 and that's fine.
Yeah. I'm going to hit pause real quick. And we're back. The Andy McKee was like, he's one of my favorite guitar players at all.
Like the acoustic guitar player?
Yes.
Kind of bigger guy. And he dude. He has that song called Rylan. Yeah. We're talking about the same guy.
Same guy.
Okay.
Yeah. He like blew up on YouTube, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He's incredible.
He's incredible. I saw him at a show of maybe like 10 people there in this tiny little venue. And half the show is him just talking about playing with Prince while he was playing guitar. Because he got an email. We were talking about like people we would love to collab with. Prince would definitely be on my list. He said that he got an email. His manager got an email. It was like prince@gmail.com. And he's like, this is definitely a scam. And it's like, yo, we want Andy to fly out to New York, send us his info or whatever. We'll pay for him for studio time with Prince. And he's like, this is definitely not real.
Wow.
He deleted the email. And then like 2 months later, he gets another email. And his manager's like, no, I actually think this is Prince, dude. So he ends up flying out to New York and like he sees Prince and he walks in this like world-class studio and Prince is like real straightforward. He's like, you play ping pong? He's like, yeah. He's like, all right, let's go. It's like first thing he says, takes him in, he like spanks him in like 5 games. It was like 0-21 for like 3 games in a row. Yeah. And then he's like, all right, dude, let's make some music.
That's my dream.
Yeah,
I like
Josh is pretty good. I've seen Josh beat a lot of people we've been on tour with. Like when we played at the Fillmore with STS9, and I feel like you beat a lot of them.
Everybody.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think you lost. And then we also played the Fillmore where they have the ping pong with Humphreys, and I'm pretty sure you beat all of them.
Yes,
and then we did Holidays, and you beat pretty much everybody there.
So I beat everybody. I beat Stasic there. He didn't like that, but we're still.
It was
friends.
On record. It did happen.
It did happen. We're still friends.
But who beat you?
I beat one of the twins in Lotus.
Yes.
And then I was taken out by one of the twins in Lotus.
I think Luke beat you. And you beat Jesse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Luke's the only guy I've seen him lose to, though. So cheers to Luke.
I've lost to Adam. I've lost to Adam Deitch, who's a big ping pong guy. I've beat Adam.
Deitch is really, really good.
I've never beat Scott Morrill, who's the owner of Cervantes.
It's pretty good.
He's just too good.
Yeah.
Borum's fire at ping pong.
I'm not even in this league.
Me and Borum have gone.
I feel like I've checked.
It goes both ways.
I just do it for fun. I'm not trying to. The ranked system is something that I'm not really in.
Yeah, that's fair. That's okay. I mean, you could stick with guitar and music. That's fine.
Kevin's got a lot of skills.
I've been doing other stuff. It's just not the ping pong. But I think as things progress, we're gonna get a set. We've actually. We've talked about this before, and I got a little mini set one time for a Sprinter tour, but where you can like clip it onto almost any table, and you're like, let's go.
Oh, really? That's
it's
cool.
dope. It's
That's
like
sick.
you can just fold it up and tuck it under a seat, and maybe we'll bring that on this next run we're doing here.
You should.
Yeah.
Jenga was my band's thing. We would take Jenga everywhere we went. We just
much more compact. That's smart.
Like regular sized or like bar
No, it was
sized?
the big size.
Oh yeah. Like out in the lot.
Yeah.
It took up most of our trunk, but we're like, we can scale down on music gear as long as we have Jenga.
That'd be fun. That's definitely a lot cleaner option than the time that we had the Nerf gun wars on tour. And for some reason that was like our thing.
We had to start getting face masks and stuff because it was like, what? It was like, Rich, like, why are you aiming for my eyeballs?
Yeah, it was
Why
always
do
the
you want to
sound
shoot me
guy
in the
would get
face?
the fully automatic.
Yeah, he literally just showed up with the fully automatic Nerf ball gun and was like aiming for our eyes.
You definitely got
a bad plan.
You gotta like do things to keep morale high and keep everybody on their toes out there on
That's
tour.
right. Well, someday, Josh, I challenge you to a game of ping pong because that's my family's like iconic history is just legendary ping pong players.
Same here, and I didn't beat my dad until he was too old to really move that well.
Yeah,
and then I was like, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. He was like 60. He's like finally beat him. He's like, I got you.
Carrying on the family history.
It was bittersweet because I was like, oh, I finally beat him, but it was like it just had to take long enough to where he just physically was slower.
That's a special moment, man.
By his own words, he is the worst golfer in the band.
The worst golfer?
Kevin's the best golfer.
No, I think Chris is.
No, you're the best golfer. Chris just golfs the most.
Chris golfs the most.
I don't really see golf as a sport, to be honest with you.
Nice.
It's I
don't know if we have time
we
to
just
unpack
lost a lot of fans.
I don't know if we have time.
I mean, I love golfing. Don't get me wrong. I love golfing.
Yeah, golfing is more of a Zen meditation.
Yeah.
It's definitely a sport.
I know.
I'm going on record.
No, I love golfing. I'm not dissing golfers. Yes. There's a lot of very talented golfers out there. It's a real skill.
A game.
That's how I feel. It's more of a game than a sport. Ping pong, I could say, is more of a game than a sport, in my opinion.
I'm going to go on record saying that's
Which one's in the Olympics?
See, those guys.
Which one of the two is in the Olympics?
I don't know if we have time to unpack this right now. This is a lot.
This is a whole rabbit trail I just opened up.
Right.
Yeah, that's my bad. We should move on.
Really, it's just important to try new things.
That's right. In the end of the day, do what you love to do. And
we like hitting balls.
Enjoy the journey.
Enjoy the journey. That just like your cup says.
The journey.
That's right.
We do like hitting balls though.
Yeah,
it's very nice.
We went to the driving range the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do that a lot of places on tour if we can.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have a favorite golf course you've ever golfed on?
Ooh,
What's your dream golf course?
As a kid, I used to get to play at this place in Oregon called Bandon Dunes on the coast of Northwest Oregon, and like just crazy. You're like right on the edge of the ocean, and it's these big stone cliffs and like crazy puffins and like weird little bushes everywhere, man. Like literally just looks like it's out of a movie. It's crazy.
That's awesome.
I don't know. I've been,
I'm the worst golfer, so I can't say I have a favorite course.
We did get to go and hit a driving range in Hawaii.
Yep. That was awesome.
As long as you don't hit another person, I'd say it's a good day.
I am 100% for not hitting people.
There you go. Yeah, that's a good percentage to be at.
As we know.
Yeah, or hitting people with a golf cart. I've done that before. That was a big mistake. It was muddy. You're going downhill.
We have earned our golf cart licenses over the years.
Amazing.
Incredible stunt driving. You might have seen us in a few movies before. Anywhere there's a golf cart at a festival, that was probably us.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do like golf carts more than golf.
I would agree with that. That's half the fun. If I have to walk 18 holes, count me out.
We had a festival where we somehow wound up with 2 of our own golf carts, and everyone kept being like, how do you guys have? I'm like, don't worry about it.
It's like a VIP treatment.
Shout out to Frost, our old tour manager. He's with GRiZ team now, but cool. We lost a good one because that guy, he made sure we had the carts.
He hooked you up.
He was an expert cart wrangler.
That's amazing.
Shout out Frost. He's the man.
Put that in all of your riders.
Oh, we do, but they don't give them to us.
Tequila, yerba mate, and a golf cart.
Oh, the golf cart's on there. The golf cart's on there. We just never get it.
Even if it's not a festival, you still want a golf cart.
We always want one.
Yeah, that's good. As you should.
Right, Ableton.
Back to Ableton stuff. This is the Ableton podcast.
Yeah.
We should maybe talk about it. You're still in Live 10, you're on 11. Do you have like your favorite go-to effects? I mean, I'm assuming you do some decent processing on your guitar with your keys, the Moog.
Yeah. I think Kevin is really an expert at Ableton effects.
Yeah.
Like he uses way more Ableton. I like him a plugin monster.
You're a plugin addict. Is what
I have just the most plugins.
Well, now it's like we have a lot of the same ones, and I'm liking the Waves world a lot. You know what I mean? But as far as Ableton effects go, I've always written all my drums in drum rack, like lining stuff out that way. I've learned how compression works with the Ableton compressor, right?
Yeah.
I think that the EQ has just continually improved, and it's just super intuitive and quick and.
Like OTT is a classic.
Yeah, it is.
Classic Ableton.
That's
like
the multi-band setting.
Yeah, it's like the cool one.
Over the top.
You're like, hey, we want to make it.
Sounds
Man, I wish the sound was cool.
It is.
OTT.
Yeah, it is over the top.
But I love how a lot of the plugins have like an XY interface, and like Ableton has made a lot of their plugins so that it's easy to experiment with, right? Like you put it on, you're like moving the thing around. Oh, that's the spot. You're like, but you're just using that XY interface, or like, they're just very intuitive.
Yeah,
which is cool. And I love like I use Simpler or the sampler a lot, where it's like you can just like put a sample on and chop it up on there, and it's just so convenient.
Yeah.
Recently, I've been using Operator a lot. Like we use Serum a lot.
Once you really start to dig into Operator, it's amazing.
Like we have a lot of analog synths that I use.
What are some of your favorite analog synths that you guys use? Because you're pretty out of the box too with a lot of your setup.
Yeah. So, I mean, I use a Sub-Fatty mostly. I now have a Subsequent 25, which is cool, but sounds different. So I'm getting used to it. Yeah. But it's more versatile.
It sounds dope.
But basically, I'm a Moog guy as far as SunSquabi is concerned.
Yeah, I love Moog.
Like I just lent my MS-2000 to Phipps from Soundtribe for their show that they were out here for, doing a fan show. So it was like everyone, of course, was like, we want the old shit.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh no, where am I getting MS-2000? I was like, oh, I have one I haven't turned on in 6 years or 8 years or whatever.
Yeah.
So MS-2000 I used for a long time. Some of the Behringer synths are cool for certain sounds, like I got the Poly D, which is basically a Moog, but it's like can play more than one note on it, so it's cool, and it has like a Juno chorus on it, which is nice.
Yeah.
And then they have like this, I'd prefer to have the real ones, like a real SH-101, like for like acid bass or leads. It's like so sick. But I have the Behringer, so I've used that like a few times, to get that sound. And but I think mostly we're using like Operator or what's the other one?
A lot of the first tracks, and I haven't messed with it as much lately because once you start experimenting with plug-in synths like Massive and
Massive.
like my
Massive's
absolute favorite is the Albino, which you'll never find. It's out there somewhere, but it doesn't really exist anymore, and I don't know how it still works on my machine. That's another factor of the machine change, but so many synths of the older stuff is Ableton analog, and just doing.
I love analog.
Straight up like square saw.
Yeah.
Find it, sit right in the middle.
So nice.
And it sounds great.
It sounds awesome.
And then like, I think I was emulating a lot of like Rat-a-tat-esque sounds, which I think they were using analog stuff, but it's like poly synths. You know what I mean? So you're making these organ, vocal chord sounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's actually really inspiring. I think I want to do more stuff going back into that and see what it's changed with it. I think again, it's all for the sound that you're trying to get for it and what is comfortable with you to use. I think what was appealing to me about Massive, which is still out there and still awesome. I think there's the new version of it now.
Massive X.
Right? Massive X.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people didn't like the interface upgrade with Massive X.
I haven't used it as much.
I love it, but it's just a different synth.
It feels more like Albino now. It feels the interface
it's more,
of it.
Yeah, and like Serum, it's more like wavetable vibe, and the automation on it is cool. And I mean, I like it a lot, but it's totally different. So if you thought it was like gonna just be a doper Massive plugin, it really feels like a different synth.
Similar to how I learned about like really again how intuitive Ableton is to experimenting and like going into it. I really didn't know anything about synthesis and like learning about waveforms and things like that. It's so intuitive to just sit there and play with it and learn how things blend and how to get your two oscillators to synchronize and stuff like that. It's all right there. So what was appealing about Massive is that it kind of just gave you that, but with a little bit more control over some different elements of it, you know? And yeah,
and a lot of times when we're just creating, we can use like an Ableton, use analog or operate, whatever. But then later we'll take that and Ableton makes it really easy just to like go into my Moog, and then we record the audio out of the Moog. So you can get your ideas down and get all that stuff down. And then later on we'll run it through analog synths to like get that natural harmonics.
And there's a lot of ways to achieve that. Like recently, we're probably going to do this when we go back to your house on this one track. I'll write a bass line or he'll write a bass line in a MIDI clip on a digital soft synth. You know what I mean? And you take that MIDI clip, run it to an external instrument, hook it up to the Moog, run that back, fix the latency so it's aligned. And then we can layer up any number of analog layers over the digital synth. And then what we're doing now is kind of taking these layers that we've recorded and either blending or cutting some out to get right in the center of that blend between an analog and digital sound that you want.
Yeah, that's nice.
So then when we play that live, he's playing the analog part live.
And you have the stem that's still playing with that layer.
Sometimes we're doing it that way. We've been experimenting with like wanting to have him the ability to trigger the digital patch at the same time, which is just like really incorporating the other laptop live and using Link more. But that's something that we do a lot with the synthesis is like take these MIDI clips and that doesn't just work with the bass stuff. Like we do it with arpeggios, and like I've experimented before of layering up, even though it's a mono synth, you record one note of the chord at a time, and then you kind of pan those out to make a poly synth out of that. So
that's cool.
Using the external instrument feature is really, really dope. And it's super easy just plugging the USB into the computer, into the Moog. So once we kind of started messing with that and sequencing, that opened up a lot of doors. And then we're talking about incorporating a way to do that live more. And really it's just using two laptops and the wireless link, which we've done in the past in more of an experimental setting, but it is pretty cool.
Yeah. You're talking about Ableton Link?
Yeah, using Link
to computers.
So like I could send him a MIDI clip from my setup seamlessly into his synth, and he can be manipulating it live. And then if he wants to change that clip, he can trigger a different one and it sends it back to it. So it's like you can pass the ball like that. Yeah, it's dope.
I mean, because we, basically like we're using Ableton for two totally different things, creating music, but also performing electronic music.
Yeah.
So like a lot of these things, it's like such a great program because it's like some people might not even make music on there, but then they use it for the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like 100%. We're like really testing the limits of everything that it's doing.
Yeah.
And we have this side project, Puka Patrol, which was like kind of born in Hawaii with experimentation and just fun vibes. And that's been really cool to test the limits because it's a lot lower pressure. Like you don't want to be like trying all this stuff for the first time, main stage at Electric Forest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like other side of Cervantes, we're hooked up. Kevin's like running the show, but we're linked. And then I'm like, I can play some stuff on my Moog, loop the MIDI, and then we're sequencing like, you know, and I can literally go in and quantize maybe like the first couple notes so that the beginning of it's definitely right on, and then just be twisting knobs on the Moog on a loop MIDI sequence that I played a minute earlier. And it's, you know, and then Kevin's like, oh, we're speeding up, we're going up, and it just starts going, you know, so he's controlling all that. And so it's really fun to kind of test the limits live, and we're slowly incorporating that into the SunSquabi stuff, but it needs to be like streamlined, and I need to not accidentally press spacebar and like stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's just like things
He's
like
worrying about it's like once if mine's the master and you hit spacebar, nothing happens.
I don't know. Last time something was happening.
He's just scared. We did it with 4 people simultaneously one time at Cervantes and at
That's cool.
And
That's
it's
cool.
not that crazy. You're just
the most
scared.
laptops I've ever linked on stage was 8 laptops.
Nice.
And that was terrifying.
They really
actually.
nailed the wireless link
Kevin's
feature.
brave,
I think.
dude, I don't know.
I think that. Yeah, I don't know. I just have that tank of a 2018 laptop. It's just you cannot burn it. It's crazy.
Well, and you're used to pressing all the buttons. Like Kevin's like he's like literally doing a million things and shredding.
Sometimes it sucks.
I see you doing that. I'm actually kind of impressed.
Like
Sometimes it's crazy. Like I'll be like, oh right, and I'll have to like pause so I can get like 6 steps ahead and be like, okay, now this, trigger that on the keyboard while switching the effect on my guitar, and you got to come in on the 1 with that part.
But he's literally like,
all I could explain to that is just
Yeah.
practice, and it's doing. I think that again, the interface of Ableton lends itself to multi-instrumentalists and being able to play more than one thing at a time. I think you see a lot of producers like FKJ is so sick at this.
Yeah, he's a mastermind of that.
I think there's a lot of people doing incredible stuff with that. But like it really is and it's designed to be intuitive like that, and everybody can kind of find their own way with it. And so what I do is specific to the songs that we have written, and that's just practicing it over and over again. And I'll make mistakes, you know what I mean? I'll hit the wrong button, but if you're not willing to like lay them all out there and try it, you're never going to be able to find these pathways of doing it. So, you know, just experiment. And like, once you find your rhythm of what order to press things in and what works for you, you know, you got to just experiment with it and do it over and over again. The guitar works well because you can hold notes.
Yeah. You still got one hand. Yeah. You got one hand you can use.
What they really, if anybody in the tech world is listening, and I know maybe something like this exists, but a foot controller that I could put an 8 to 16 clip matrix on that isn't gigantic and I can step on, but it's basically like an APC pad that I could use my foot, I think would change so many people's games. Anyone who plays a saxophone or a bass guitar or a keyboard where you don't want to interrupt what's this thought process happening with these 2 hands, and you could use it like an effects pedal to trigger the next part of your song or to trigger an effect or to trigger a loop.
I feel like
there is a
cloud chords doing stuff like that.
So there's a
man. Cloud Core's doing everything.
Yeah. He was on the podcast back in the day. Shout out to
maybe
Derek.
I'm stealing his look. We haven't decided yet, but shout out Cloud Core for doing everything.
Yeah, Derek's a badass. No, I was gonna say there is a MIDI pedal that was made by a certified trainer in Chicago called Looptimus. Check it out. It's like $250 or something like that. I'll pull it up. It's really,
let's take a look at that.
It's really sick.
I think there was another one that like the guys who made the Novation Launchpad made one that was like that, and then Keith McMillan made one.
See, the Keith McMillan, I don't like it as much, to be honest. It's squishy and it's like stepping on a fruit gusher.
Yes.
And it makes me a little nervous.
Want it to feel like
this feels like a true guitar pedal, and that's why he made it. Where's a picture? I just want a picture.
I'm getting a feeling.
So this is it.
Yes. Okay. So that stuff right there, man. It's like these kind of controllers have existed for a while.
This is a MIDI controller.
Making one that's USB into Ableton.
That's exactly what it's made for.
Everybody check that out.
Yeah.
Including us.
I'm about to go get one.
Yeah, Looptimus. Dude, you can just borrow mine. I haven't touched it in like 12 years.
What?
Yeah, the thing's amazing. And honestly...
It's been around for 12 years?
yeah, probably.
That's how long our band's been around. Are you kidding me?
I think he released it probably in like 2004.
So I've been doing all this shit with my hands this whole time. Yeah.
So this thing is like MIDI. You can also run an expression pedal and a foot switch into it as well. And
that's incredible.
It's great. Yeah, you can power it just straight from the MIDI, so it doesn't need an external power.
And
but
you could program it like in Ableton, like you put on MIDI mapping and touch the button.
So that's the thing. I'm sure you're familiar with like the FCB controllers, and you have to like hack it with a script to set it up. This is just plug and play. Okay. So you just plug it in, and it recognizes it as a MIDI controller.
Big shouts to this company.
It has 20 banks. Yeah, shout out to Looptimus. Freaking, yeah, the guy is an Ableton certified trainer that made it. So it's really easy. I love this thing.
Well, it's opening up a lot of possibilities in my mind already of just like, and again, thank you for complimenting my style and what I'm doing with all the buttons and everything. But imagine if I had 2 more things to push buttons with. Yeah. Now, having said that too, with the guitar effects, it's like sometimes that can get a little crazy. And we also have like foot switches for talk mics and streamlining where everything is placed so that you're not necessarily moving around too much is very key, when you're designing like a live setup with Ableton.
Oh, 100%.
Like where my setup is in relation to like me being able to reach all of it and then like rotate slightly, play keys, and my more comfortable hand on the keyboard is my right hand, so my APC's to the left. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I was to get another foot controller, it's like that would go underneath the computer, is how I'm envisioning it. So it'd be like computer world, interface, controller. The APC is basically on top of where the other one is, right?
Yeah,
you
exactly.
could almost visually, mentally lay it out that way. But foot controllers open up a huge world for people who are playing instruments live in Ableton. That's crazy.
What are you saying about, what were you guys?
I was going to ask you, like, I assume that you're performing in session view, so you're launching scenes and like in a row. Is that kind of what you're doing? Or are you jumping around a lot more than that in between?
Scenes.
Yeah.
Session view, clip view.
Yeah, I'm doing session view, but I'm not doing scenes.
Okay, so you're jumping around between individual clips?
Yeah, so I have clips organized by songs, usually in groups. So some of them have 5 clips, some of them have 3. We loop different sections of the song, and I can go back and forth between them. But the scene arrangement of it, we are going over a stereo master, you know what I mean? And then layering in the parts that we've taken out into it. So it doesn't make sense necessarily for me to be submixing scenes of like drums, synth, keys, because our main goal is to play the instruments live in that, you know what I mean?
So you just have your main stems that are supporting what you're doing.
Right. Yeah. So it's like playback.
And depending on where we want to jam and
right. And so again, I'll have like, you have like the intro, the verse part of the song, this part we loop, and then I have like the chorus clip, you know what I mean? So it's like, we can change the arrangement of the song as much as we want, as long as we've layered out the clips live. And I've gotten to the point where now, if we want to try something, or we're like in this weird part of a song, I can even go in with the loop bracket on the trackpad, like find a new part to launch and loop, and you just drag that as a new clip under it. Now we're looping this, you know what I mean?
So you're dragging in clips from the browser on the fly as you're going too.
If it calls for it. I wouldn't recommend doing it every time, but if it calls for it, you should be capable of doing that.
And we also do like live improv, like at Mishawaka during COVID. Like was it like 4 days, like 8 sets? It was like 8 sets, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of
sets. We did like 8 sets in 4 days. So we were like, hey, one of them is going to be live improv.
We're going to just make the whole setup.
And so in that situation,
should go back to that recording for ideas to write songs to.
Yeah.
Just to touch on the first thing.
Yeah. Side note, not a lot, but like several of our songs come from live improvs when we do that.
Yeah.
But so that process,
we did a whole set like this. Yeah.
Kevin could probably explain it more, but he's literally live looping percussion, live looping keyboards, live looping his other keyboards, live looping guitar. Like,
so when we're doing that, it is more like I would be scene launching, but I'm not. I still don't, because what I do is I use the scene launch buttons, all control different effects for different instruments that aren't mapped to the keyboard. So I'm using the scene launches as just extra MIDI buttons because I don't launch things in scenes. But when we're doing the improv thing, like from left to right, I have 5 tracks. And generally speaking, it's like kick, snare, percussion patterns, and then like some alternate kick patterns and maybe more like effect type sounds. And then like timed out effects that go sweeps up, sweeps down, releases that are anywhere between 1 and 16 and 32 bars, broken down to 1, 2, 4, and 8 and everything.
So when you're ready to transition, you can hit those clips.
And it's like this 6 clip sequence that repeats all the way down. So anywhere that I'm at in the scene looking at samples, I've got what I want over here as far as timing wise. So to tie a phrase together, you're always counting, always counting when you're doing this stuff too, because you got to trigger like ahead of time. And so it's when we're writing stuff live, doing that, and then from there it goes over to the keyboard channels, and I can loop the guitar channels then next to that. But I can basically construct a whole drum beat and effects and everything one channel at a time there, and then I'm submixing that to that. So
as far as like changing your banks, no, it makes sense, but like that is a lot.
I think I'm explaining it, and I think I understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, you do.
Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense.
If I could show it on the screen, it'd be better.
No, for sure. It made sense to me.
It's just
how you would write if you were writing a beat in your studio, and everybody has a different process, but typically speaking, it's like, okay, let's put the drums over here, let's put this here, let's put this here. And that's what I'm trying to do to give myself the tools to do that live.
Yeah, it's organized chaos, basically.
Yes, that's what's going on. You got to organize.
Yeah, and honestly, that's, I think, the most fun way to approach a live set, because it's not so overly programmed. You're just space barring every show. You're like really in the moment, and you're playing it, and it's going to be new pretty much every time you play.
That's
the
idea
that's fun.
With like even the tracks that we're doing, where we're doing playback over the tracks. It's by having that freedom to arrange it. Every time we play it, it's going to be a little bit different version of the song, which is fun for us and it's fun for the audience. And, that's just what it's about, right? So
totally, 100%. So quick question, and maybe you already touched on this a little bit, but as far as like bank changes for your guitar, because you're not playing the same guitar tone for every single track, it's going to be maybe a little different. Are you doing that manually with your changes, or do you have like bank changes?
He has a really cool pedal.
Yeah, I in the last year have switched to the Headrush pedal, and now I have the Headrush Prime. Headrush is really similar to Helix, which I think a lot more people know about, but basically it's an all-in-one thing that has a DSP like chips in it that emulate any kind of effect that you want.
At Line 6?
It's like the Line 6 makes the Helix. That's what you're talking about. Yeah. It's similar to that, except it has a touch screen. Yeah, and I think a lot of the things they operate more like plugins than like onboard onto the thing. So you can download stuff, you can change it. But what I had before that was a Boss multiple effects pedal, an ME80, and that has basically 8 switches. And I built a lot of my tones around like what can I have as these 8 effects. So it's like you have a compression box, a distortion, reverb, delay, phaser, tremolo, maybe one more. Get creative. You can switch that one out. Usually that was the harmonizer. So when I got the Headrush, my first thing was to emulate that kind of setup. So I build a lot of my boards for the Headrush off of that. As far as the bank changes go, like I'm not really changing outside of those 8 effects. You know what I mean? Those are like everything I really want to use right there. And what the Headrushes allowed me to do, those have like different subtle variations of that board that I can now go click, click, and the harmonizer's in a different key, or the phaser works completely different, or instead of the phaser, it's a flanger in this one. Or like you can go really crazy with this Headrush stuff because I can change the way that the amp, I can change the entire amp that it's supposed to be sounding out of. Like I could be playing through a deluxe 1 minute, a 2x12 guitar amp, and then hit one button, and now I'm playing through 2 Marshall stacks. You know what I mean? So I haven't even scratched the surface as far as how far the bank programming goes, because again, I was using this analog. It wasn't analog; it was an old school digital pedal, but like doing all this changes by hand with 8 effects. I would just get down and do it. And I'm not a big bank change guy. I actually like have my bank and then I just change what I need to.
Yeah. Right. I mean, it makes sense if you're doing a lot of improv too, because then you could feel it out.
Well, yeah. And you just kind of have like your toolbox there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you get your core sounds.
Again, with the digital pedal though, it's like I don't have to carry around a box of 40 pedals.
Yeah, exactly. And it probably makes for a better mix on stage too to front of house because
sound engineers are loving it.
You're all line in, right? Yeah, exactly. Except for the drums. Yeah. So it makes sense. It's a really good way to control sounds.
I like to have
He used to have two 8x10s on stage.
I used to roll with two 8x10s.
Really?
That was a piece of shit.
And then I had a 2x12 and I was like, And then I got that digital and I was all in and I was like,
It was the bass diva.
It was just really loud. I got really strong.
Yeah, I mean, but
I got really strong loading them in all the time.
Yeah, it was awesome, but then it was really dumb too. So now I basically we're on ears, so I just need like a sub or something on stage to feel it. And then I also have a 410 on stage, but really I don't need it. It's more
You've
tone.
subtracted a lot of speakers here.
Yeah, and
I think the cleaner your stage volume is in general, the better. Because especially the drums are the loudest thing.
So I'm using like an Aguilar head, so there's like a nice little drive sound to it. But like we put like I put a 57 on the bass. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to get bass out of the amp. I don't want low end. I just want like the sound guy likes to have the mids like. So I'm using a bass amp for tone, basically. It's not that loud, but I do have however many subs I can get behind me. You know what I mean?
You're talking about a sub pack.
So yeah, the sub pack.
I've mentioned this to you in the past.
I have a sub pack. I love it.
So it's like a little.
They make different versions.
A little thing you wear on your back underneath the shirt.
Yep.
And it's a haptic thing, and it just puts the bass right into you, and you feel
really light. So it's not that heavy at all.
Ott's whole band.
No, I've seen him wear it.
Right. That's what we're talking about here.
There is like a huge supply chain shortage with them.
I don't think Josh likes it.
I don't like it. I just want two huge.
If he doesn't like something, it's not going to happen.
It looks like this. It's really fun. They make two versions.
I can't wear that.
They make like a wearable version. It's actually very light.
No, it's dope.
With how much Josh moves around on stage, first of all, that thing is flying.
Yeah, I'm getting chafed for sure.
I think it's all dependent on your style and what you're doing on stage, you know?
Trying to remember what it's called, but there's like a mini version of a sub pack that people wear. A lot of bass players wear. I played with a bassist once that used it, and I can't remember what he called it, but it's really small and it like fits. It only takes up maybe like a tenth of your back. It's like this really tiny thing, and you put it on your guitar strap.
10%.
Oh, interesting.
You put it on your guitar strap so you can feel that sub vibration.
I do take my bass off a lot. I just am doing a lot of weird. I'm like not wearing my bass. I'm wearing my bass. I'm playing my synth. I'm jumping around. I'm behind Kevin. He's like, what are you doing back here?
And then you get off of that.
Kevin turns around. I'm like, I'm behind you. I'm over here now.
Kevin's tired of moving cabinets.
Sub pack would be like, it's like smoking 10 packs a day and then going to a nicotine patch, you know, like that's what it would be like for you with the bass.
But my stage sound has gotten more under control, especially since he switched that pedal.
And I think in general, the front of house sound is a lot cleaner.
Yeah.
Just the more direct end that you're going with the style of music that we're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where there are so many elements in the track that the more the engineer can fit into our mix that's coming out of Ableton, the better, the more cohesive the sound is, you know?
Yeah, and we're
blending the amp sounds in.
And he's sub mixing, so like he's going everything in Ableton, and then coming out of Ableton, we have the track, we have the click on a separate channel coming out. He has 2 different keyboard sends and his guitar send. So out of Ableton Live, we have 6 channels.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got 6. What's that stemming out again?
So
it's like 1, 2 stereo, 3 is the guitar, 4 is the click, 5 is Rhodes, and 6 is a synth.
Yeah, so like 5 is like classic keyboards, like sometimes organ too.
Yeah, it's like I use one keyboard that's like a keyboard channel that you would have like in the studio, and then you have bus compression for that, so it's all coming out of pretty much the same level. And this is a compromise to getting now. So I upgraded to the UAD Apollo X6 interface, which is 6 outputs, right?
Shout out UAD.
Wow, they're amazing, man. So we were using the Apollo, and we were like, we want to do the 2 keyboard separate outputs. And then it's like the next step would be the rack to where you could have a keyboard channel, an organ channel, a clav channel, couple different guitar channels.
We don't want to separate it too much because Kevin's doing at the same time that he's live looping and playing guitar and running the whole show.
And sub-mixing those extra keyboard channels.
He's also doing DJ effects, and if we separate it too much, you lose the power of that effect.
That's one thing that's funny that you bring that up, because since we that has changed some of the things that we're doing when we're improvising live. Before, let's say I like set up a whole thing in a groove and I've got the drums, as we were talking about before, I've got drums, snare, a percussion thing, the whole beat going, and then I've got keyboard loops going, and I could take a beat repeat on the master channel, and since it's all going through the master channel, it's going to affect everything. So it'd take what I had played and copy and chop that and live, you know what I mean? But now that it's separated out, and obviously there is a workaround here to doing this, but now that it's separated out, it doesn't affect the keyboards as it does all the drum channels, right? So routing is very important when you're talking about doing multiple instruments in, and then what you want to be able to control as a master thing, because we have them separated out to be able to control the audio part of it, the mix out of front of house better. But by doing so, you're able to control less of the creative part of it. So it's a never ending journey.
You might know this. I just had an idea.
Let's go.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
What if he MIDI mapped, so the knob he's turning that's on the master, what if you had the same effects on the keyboard outputs?
So they're macroed.
And it's macro, so when you do the beat repeat, it happens on 3 things.
That's what Sylvanesso does.
I thought about that, yeah.
Nick talked to me about that. Or not. Yeah, Nick.
Yeah, so there is a workaround, but...
Yeah, I mean, you could...
I've been doing a lot of things here.
You could macro map to all of... You can map as many tracks as you want.
What you would do there for the listeners, right? It's like you would be making a copy of that rack to each one of the channels that you're affecting. If not, you would have it on all of them. Yeah. Say you want the keyboard channels to do the same thing as all the drum ones. So they all have the same effect track on it. And then you're copying the mapping so that when you hit one knob to control this effect that's on the master channel, it's affecting every single one of those racks that's on the channel. And then in that way, you could still be able to control the output level separately at the front of house.
And then you just hope your CPU doesn't crash in front of everybody.
Right, because the nice part about having just one instance of a plugin is it's only taking up that much memory.
Yeah. The other thing you could do is take a return track, and you could send all of those specific things to a return track, and then you only have that one effect on a return track. That's
right. And there's a way to put your effects.
Because you could also route the output of each individual track straight to whatever channel it's going on.
So you're saying it hits the return track before it goes back into it. So they all hit that track before they go back in to their separate outputs.
Yeah, I think so.
So to summarize, so let's say it's in return A, it's in send A, right? That's a great way to do it, honestly.
Good.
It's in send A. You're going to have one group of effects racked there. Instead of multiple copies of the effect, there's one, that is where the effects go. And so it's sending through there only, again, you would macro map the dry wet for your effect to the send. So that's just one thing instead of macro mapping like 6 things. So what you do is you send it to it. Yeah, you'd run it to the send, and then the out of the send would be going to the master and have to take over from the other output. I had it a second ago, but it's the more you think about
so
it.
That's why right now we're just doing it how we do it. But we're this
would be a lot easier if we were troubleshooting in person.
A long time ago, somebody told me if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
But yeah, it's definitely possible, but and we're always growing. So it's like maybe next time we do this, we're gonna be like, so now this is what we do.
Yeah, it's been a big problem for a long time, honestly, Dan.
I feel like we could figure this out.
Like I'm dealing with too much of their shit sometimes.
By the way, this is what I was trying to talk about earlier. It's called Backbeat.
Actually looks pretty
It's
sweet.
A little subwoofer for your bass strap on your guitar.
That's a lot cleaner than a backpack.
That's probably what you would want, is that little Backbeat guy.
I think Josh is still going to break it. Have you seen this guy on stage?
Well, I will either break it or lose it.
I'll put it in my backpack.
I'll be like, hey, did anyone grab that thing?
And I'll be like, it was me. No, I have it.
Oh, look, it's you can clip it, you can plug it in and play it.
You can feel it. Look at that guy feeling it.
He's feeling it.
Check that guy out.
Honestly,
there he is again. He's feeling it, dude.
Honestly, I would try that, but half the show I'm not wearing my bass. I'm just playing Moog.
Yeah, that's another thing. So first of all, I'm going to just totally break my spine. I keep looking at these pictures of us playing. And I'm like getting on my keyboard and I'm just like, so that's another thing, I want to rearrange things like that. But I've never been let's put the guitar behind your back or take it off to play the keyboards. I'm always rolling the dice, and I've paid for it before where the thing falls right off, but you get better at taping the strap on or getting strap locks after a while. But Josh is if I'm playing synth, And it's really, if you're just playing exclusively synth on a song, you're not going to wear.
I still take it off if I'm not about to touch it for a while. Like Publito.
Like if you're playing it for like 2 or 3 minutes.
Jam, I just take her off.
Yeah.
And I've accidentally taken it off. Like, I think I know our music, but every once in a while I accidentally take it off. I'm like, oh, that was where I was supposed to play some bass, and then I'm playing it on the Moog anyway. Like,
maybe again it's because of my terrible posture that I'm just T-Rexing these keyboards. But like when I'm doing it, I don't really think about it too much. You know what I mean? But I guess it's always again what you're used to.
It's just hard to do interpretive dance with the bass on.
Yeah, and that's really your thing.
Yeah, I would imagine.
That's really your thing.
Yeah, you're a great dancer.
It's kind of like DJs, you know, it's like you do all your prep and you do all the stuff, and then you got to work on your fingers.
Yeah.
Like a lot of finger pointing, a lot of like hands ups, like clap right here. It's like for me, it's more like body rolls, stomping around.
Crowd engagement's everything.
Big stomper.
Scaring people. I like looking them right in the eye and just staring at them.
That doesn't happen. Well, it does.
Just not even
just mean
looking
mugging
away.
Yeah, it was actually
Sometimes
funny.
5 or 6 minutes at a time.
In my college band, I had this weird moment with my drummer where he was like, "Why are you always so like? Do you hate me?" And I was like, "I'm like, what are you talking about?" I was just like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Every time you look at me."
First 2 years we were in the band, I was like, do you want to fight?
Yeah, it's like because like every time I turn around, I'm making that face.
It's intense. It's just intense.
It's like I'm just fucking vibing, and you know I'm just making the bass face where I can't help it.
God, that's actually like the funniest thing. I was watching Red Rocks, I think it was the 2018 stream of you on Red Rocks, and you did look angry when you were on stage.
But that's how you know it's funky. That's the thing.
I was like, I think he's having a good time, but he's like he's got an aggressive look on his face.
And that's why I think in every
Very
band
aggressive.
you got to balance each other out. So it's usually I'm the one who's just like, I'm dying inside, but I'm smiling really big, you know? And Butters sweats for everybody.
Yeah, Butters
a sweater.
Working.
Butters
He's just back there working.
He's
dude.
working the hardest.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't stop moving.
Oh, he puts the most miles on.
We're gonna do
for
3 drum and bass tunes in a row. So like, get ready.
Yeah. I mean,
It's gonna go 180 BPM.
Yeah, get ready.
20 minutes.
He probably is tired. He's carrying all your bass cabinets and his drums, you know?
He's not carrying too much.
Carrying a lot of stuff.
He's a busy boy. He's not carrying too much, but he is working the hardest up there.
I'll give Chris credit. Actually, he tore a calf muscle one tour, and we basically carried him out onto the stage every show, and he played the shit out of his kick drum every night, but like it was literally hanging off his leg.
Yeah, like he couldn't even walk, but he was
and
still
then this
play
guy
drums.
broke a hand one summer and played like, I don't know, 12 or 14 festivals in a row.
I actually ran into the guy that saved my hand.
That's awesome.
I was out at
broke his slap hand on his bass.
I was out at
played a whole tour.
Yeah,
Damn.
I broke my hand, but I ran into this dude and he's like, "How are you doing?" I was like, "Oh my God, Alex!" Like, he's the
Turned
guy.
out all right.
And so I'm in the doctor's office with a broken ass hand, and they're like, "Cool, so we're gonna put this cast on you for 6 to 8 weeks." And I was like, "Cool, but I'm gonna take it off in 2 weeks because we're playing main stage at summer camp." And they were like, "No," and I was like, "Well, I'm gonna take it off somehow."
Yeah.
And then this guy who I ran into, he's like, "I got you, man." And like doctor's like, "Yeah, what do I know? I'm just the doctor."
Yeah,
you know?
right. Wow.
But like the tech was like, "I got you," and he sawed my cast in half on either side.
Oh yeah, it was so sick.
And then he put
could take it off.
three 2-inch Velcro straps. So it was solid. But so like before, so I'd have it on for like 2 weeks straight, and then we'd have a gig.
You take it off right before.
Take it off,
No
shred.
way.
I'll smoke a gigantic joint and then shred.
Dunk my hand in a bucket of ice for as long as I could stand it, dry it off, and put the cast back.
Oh my.
And then like.
Wow, the things you do for the fans.
So when you were
Wow.
looking angry those years, that was actually probably real.
Well, it's just a mixture of emotional and physical pain.
Yeah, sounds like
with
it.
like, but
Wow.
like, yeah, I just get in as I don't even know what I look like. I don't know what I'm doing. I swear to God, the body rolls and all the jumping around. I don't know what I'm doing.
What you just said right there.
I come back down to earth after the show. I'm like, did we do it?
Think about how like fun those shows were and how far that we went that summer, and like what you were just saying. Like I think so much of music is a mixture of physical and emotional pain. And like finding that sweet spot in it and turning it into something awesome and giving it back to people.
I've like cried while we're playing before if something makes me all emotional, or I'll think about my dad or something. He's passed away, and I'll be like playing a song, and I'm like, he'd be like out in the crowd being like, "You guys are killing right now," and I'm like, get emotional. It's like an emotional thing.
It is.
So a lot of times, if I'm looking like that, it's either really funky or it's like I don't know. I'm just very emotional when I play.
I mean, that's a good thing. I think so. I mean, as an artist, like it's a form of expression, right? I mean, so when you're expressing yourself, I think you got to let go.
Yeah, I'm not like,
you have to let go. You have to surrender to it.
That's
I'm not
right.
like, I need to headbang tonight. It's just like we're playing and I'm like, freak out.
Just putting your soul into it, man.
Freak out.
It gets real on tour when you start to get towards the end of a tour and everybody's tired and everybody's wanting to get home and, dehydrated and all these things. You're really channeling those moments every night, but, you take it into the studio too. You take it into you take the story of your life and try to translate that into a story other people can experience with you. And maybe they'll relate that to their life in a completely different way. But I think music that's what it's for, is creating this bridge between everyone's pain and like how we can feel that together. And
and it's like, if you get into it and are really letting go, the people feel more open to doing that. They're like, oh man, this is intense. Like, I'm going to
100%.
I'm gonna vibe too, like
100%.
They don't want to just stand there.
Dude, that's so true. I mean, that could be said for even people just DJing, even if they're not doing much on stage. If they're jumping around, flailing their hands, people are gonna get into it. You know,
that's half the gig.
It is. It's just having a good time. If you're enjoying yourself on stage, that energy feeds.
I've literally seen Deadmau5 take his helmet off, walk to the front of stage and do all sorts of dances while like his hit is playing, and he's like just vibing. He's like, I'm not doing anything. I press play on the song you love. I'm gonna vibe.
People love that, man. Yeah. If you're having a good time, chances are others will too. Yeah. Cool. Well, this has been an awesome episode hanging out with you guys. We should probably wrap this up. Happy 420. Sure. It's 420 right now.
Oh, thank you.
This is a great time to wrap it up. Round of applause, everybody.
For we.
Well, thank you for your service and all the hard things you've done, blood, sweat, and tears on tours and making music for everybody. And like I said, I've been a long time fan. I love you guys. Love what you do.
I appreciate it, man.
And any upcoming projects? I see that you have an upcoming tour with Jason Leach. Shout out Jason. I know Jason. He's done some covers of my songs even, and I love them. He's great. Super talented.
We're looking forward to all those shows coming up. It's kind of all around the country. Like a whole week in Florida in December, and
the K-Lab's going to be on a few shows too.
K-Lab is also out there.
Yeah, K-Lab's dope. Yeah,
I saw him for the first time.
It's great.
Where were we at? I saw him. I was like, this dude.
Yeah, it's super
sick.
fun.
He throws down.
Where were we? I can't remember. But we saw him. I was like, this dude.
Yeah, he's a good time.
So we've got the tour coming up. We have a really big show towards the beginning of 2024 in Denver that we cannot wait to tell everybody about. So that's something that we're really working on behind the scenes.
Yeah,
it's going to be just absolutely next level at the end of tour.
Cool.
So that's a big thing to look out for. And again, we're working on putting out some music before the end of the year. There's going to be a ton of stuff flowing out and a lot of collaborations with some familiar faces and also some people we haven't wrote with before. So yeah, a lot of music coming out and big show coming up next year. So
yeah, I look forward to that. I saw you also were doing some kind of fundraiser for a music festival.
Oh yeah. So this weekend we're playing a music festival called Shine Music Fest. And it's really awesome. It's all about giving disabled people or people with different situations, like maybe they're blind, maybe they're deaf, maybe they have autism, whatever the situation is. It's like a music festival for everybody. So instead of having a little cage in the back where they're like, hey, you go to the ADA section, you don't get to be on the dance floor. You're going to be up on the balcony in the back, surrounded by metal.
Like ADA's in the front. There's new technology there that's like allows people with hearing impairment to feel the music, allows people with vision impairment to see things.
That's so cool.
It's
there's like tents.
And it's a free event. It's donation based. Anyway, if you want to check it out, it's called Shine Music Festival. That's this Saturday in Denver. But we're excited to be a part of it. And we hope that in the future, there is a lot more look into accessibility for everybody
because it's like
out there. So
normally they're separated like that, but like at this festival they have like platforms like near the front of the stage. So I could be standing right here. There could be someone that's deaf standing on a vibrating platform
or in a wheelchair instead of in the back. They're like right there in the front row with you.
Together.
Yeah,
and it's safe and comfortable and fun.
Yeah, it's about giving everyone an authentic concert experience, not just able-bodied people.
I absolutely love that, man.
So it's really
cool stuff.
Cool.
It's called Shine Music Festival.
That's so dope. I love that. Yeah. I'll try to make it out this Saturday, right?
Saturday, please come through.
I'll swing through. Yeah. That'd be really cool. I actually talked to Alberto Chapa. He's the brand manager for this part of the country for Ableton. He said they're doing some research and development right now for blind producers.
Sick.
Fantastic.
Which is really exciting.
That's really exciting, man.
Yeah. He talks more about that on the podcast coming out soon. But anyway, man, yeah, it's been awesome hanging out with you guys. Everybody listening, check out SunSquabi. Thanks, Kevin, Josh. You guys are dope and love what you do and stoked to see some more of it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
Lots
thanks
on the
for
way.
having us.
Yeah. Also, real quick, best place for people to follow you guys if they want to connect with you.
If you want to connect directly, we're on our Instagram all the time, but music's on Spotify. We're on nugs.net, Bandcamp, Apple Music, everywhere you can find it. But Instagram is probably where we're the most present. And if you want to really get in touch with us and mess with us, so you can hit us
Or
up
you
there.
can join the fan page Squab Train on Facebook.
Yeah, it's the Squab
where
Train.
it's like a small group, but it's like we're definitely
in there.
Yeah, we're in there.
Cool. I'll have to hop in there. Sweet.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thanks,
dude.
man.
Thank you guys. Take it easy. Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast. Do me a huge favor if you would and hit that follow or subscribe button wherever you're listening to the podcast. If you don't hate the podcast, please leave a 5-star review. It would help me out a ton. Don't forget to check back on Tuesdays for new episodes. I plan on cranking out a lot more in the upcoming future. Also, if you didn't know, on Spotify, if you click on an episode on mobile, you can interact there and you can tell me what you think about this episode and other episodes, and it would be great to hear from you and see what you're thinking about the podcast. If you want to be the first to get new episodes and stay updated and get free new devices and sample packs and other stuff that I'll be sending out in the future, join the newsletter. Just go to liveproducersonline.com/newsletter and or check out the links in the show notes. Make sure to give this guest a follow on the socials. Give them some love for spending their time. And once again, thanks for listening to the podcast. I will see you next time. Later.